Hey everyone! Ever since I started uploading my hot lap videos on Assetto Corsa Formula Hybrid, I've been getting questions from viewers as to how I improve my lap times over and over again. Well, I use a number of tools for that, and to make it clear, I've summed them up in three categories. So let's get started with the first category. The first category is investigation. Especially if you've never driven on a certain track before, you need to know what it feels like to drive on the track. Where do the corners lead you? How fast can you take them? Which gear should you be in? And all of those things can be found, for example, on YouTube. So what I start with is typing in Assetto Corsa Formula Hybrid 2021, and then I type the track of the name that I'm interested in. So in this case, I'll type in Zandvoort, as I'm Dutch, and that's my local track. So when I do that, I see a number of videos pop up. And the first one here is one by Meldus, which had a lot of views and a great time if I look at it. So if I click on the video, we'll see it start playing. And what we can see here is Meldus taking his ideal line for this very quick turnaround. So what I'm looking for is, when does he brake? Where does he steer in? What gear is he in when he goes through a certain corner? How quickly does he accelerate? What line does he take when he gets out of the corner, etc. And for example, here in the bank, we can see him take a fairly high line, as we've seen as well in the live Formula One Grand Prix that was held here. So really good information in all of these videos that are out there. And it's not just Meldus doing it, it's tons of other people doing it. So look at which driving style matches your own most, and it can help you greatly in discovering how you can go around the track in the fastest way possible. Next to YouTube videos, of course, it's also good to know what the track looks like. So the other thing I also do is I go to the F1 website, because I typically drive on F1 Grand Prix scenarios, and I look at the lay of the land of each track. And in this case, of course, we have Zandvoort over here. We can see the track with the three sections. We can see all of the corners all the way up into turn 14, and we can see the two DRS detection zones followed by their DRS zones. And those are of course critically important to use if you want to achieve a fast lap time. So two things you do in the investigation at minimum is look at the map of the track, and also look at some of the videos of drivers who have gone around that track in a very fast way, because it can give you lots of information before even spending a second in the simulator yourself. Welcome to the cockpit. And what you see in front of you is all the applications that I use on a very regular basis to try and increase the speed of my car and increase my lap times. So if we start here at the top left, what you'll see is an application called P-Tracker. It's a timing mechanism that we use on the Shark server, where I drive a lot, to just show us what the fastest lap times of the drivers are that are on the server, and shows you some basic information about the connection to the server as well, the session time, all of those good things. When we move to the right, this is an important application that I use, and it's part of the standard package within Assetto Corsa. It's called ERS Management, and it basically shows you all of the settings for your energy recovery system. So it shows you the MGUK recovery, the delivery, the mode, and of course the engine braking that you're using. And on my steering wheel, I've got buttons configured so that I can change this on the fly, and it just shows me where I am in those settings. I can change every single thing on this dial with some of the buttons that I have configured, and it just makes it really easy for me to see where I am. And often, after doing a hot lap, I turn the MGUK recovery all the way up. I push the MGUK delivery to charging, and that means that I'm charging back my battery so that I can do another hot lap at some point in the future. Now underneath there, I've got the gears application. It's a really simple application that I only use to really show me two things. One is the gear that I'm in, and secondly, the speed that I'm driving at that moment. And of course I can tell that from the steering wheel as well, but often I want to see this mid-corner. And you'll see that if I'm turning, that information may be obscured by my hand. So that's why I've got the application on top there, so even during a turn I can check whether or not I'm in the right gear, whether I'm doing the right speed, and all of those good things. And it just makes it a little bit easier. Then on the bottom right is an application that is called Real Time. You'll see it right over here. And this application is really, really good when you're driving on a public server because it shows you where on the track all of the other cars are. So in this case, you see me up there, Jezza, and you can see Bus Team is driving as well. And the timer is counting down, so he's coming closer and closer to our car. He's currently about 10 seconds away, so within 7 or 8 seconds we'll see him drive by. And this is really, really good because if you're on a slow lap and there's someone right behind you, you might actually, piss off the other drivers if you're not moving out of their way when they try and pass you. I don't know exactly what he's been doing there because he moved up to 7, so maybe he had a bit of a spin, but hopefully we'll see him come by very, very shortly. And I can guarantee you that this application will help you in making sure all the other drivers, appreciate you more when you're driving not in their way, but out of their way when they're coming by on a hot lap. So then we get to the meat of the applications that I use, and these are the two most important ones. And you can see I positioned them right in the middle of my screen, so I can always see them. The first one is quite simple. It's called Tires, and it shows you the temperature of the tires. At the moment, they're all blue, so my tires are way too cold, and I need to drive to get some friction in them and increase the temperature to increase the grip level as well. Once the grip level is good, you'll see that the tires become green. If you increase temperature too much by sliding around, or maybe you've got the pressure too low in your tires, you will see that the tires will not be green, but they'll start to become yellow or eventually even red. Again, reducing the level of grip you have. Make sure that you are cautious in the turns whenever you have tires that are not green because you don't have the optimal level. And then the absolute most important application that we have is the performance delta. When you look at reviews or when you listen to radio messages from the F1 drivers on track in the real world, you'll hear them talk about the delta very often. And this is the application that shows you the delta. It shows you your time in your current lap compared to your fastest lap. And it also indicates it by a red or a green bar. So it's really easy to see if you're actually faster or slower than your fastest lap. And the great thing about this is it shows it at every single meter that you're driving on the track. So if all of a sudden you're taking one turn a bit faster, but hey, you're keeping it in there and you're gaining time, so your delta becomes greater in the green color towards your optimal lap time, you know that you just found a quicker lap. And reversely, it also shows you when you make a mistake that your time and your delta will become red, and it shows you that you basically lost some time compared to your fastest lap. So use the performance delta all the time because it shows you absolutely everything you need to know about your cornering speeds, where you're doing better compared to your previous lap, etc., etc. So what I'll do now is I'll go drive a little bit, and you can see how this really works in the real life, because at the moment you can see it's all 0, 0, 0, 0, and that's what it's meant to do because I haven't completed a single lap yet. Once I go back into the first full lap that you'll see in a little bit, it'll start to show those green and red bars, and it'll start to show the timers, and it'll really show me if I'm quicker or if I'm not quicker. So let's get to it and get some driving going. So here we are accelerating onto this main straight. And what you can see is that I've already lost a little bit of time towards my fastest previous lap, about 1/10. And as we brake into the first corner, you'll see that I brake a bit later than I used to in my fastest lap, and you can see that now I'm gaining back time, and I'm actually ahead by more than 1.5 seconds already compared to my previous fastest lap, which was just the out lap that I did to get to that first lap. So by looking at that bar, which changes from green to red just now, you can see whether or not you're faster than your previous fastest lap. And as such, it will help you find time where you didn't know you maybe lost time, or where you could simply just go faster. Now underneath that bar that you see over there while I mess up this lap is the time that you are faster than the previous fastest lap. So in this case I'm 16 seconds faster, which is quite a bit. Sorry by by the way, for the messy driving, but talking and driving isn't my strongest point. So here you can see I'm a lot slower because in the previous fastest lap I actually took a very, very fast line there and went off track. So that's how you can see that it's actually working. But overall, we are gaining quite a bit of time. And again, as we now put down a faster lap, we'll see that the new comparison of the Delta application will be to this lap that I'm driving right now, the previous lap. So here, I'm much faster than I was on the previous lap. I won about 4/10. And as we brake, and I broke a lot later, you see that now it turns to red because I'm not doing as well as the previous lap. Now taking it further, here we are faster than the previous lap, and we'll try and continue to be faster. But now there's nowhere near the 2 seconds because now it just compares it to the previous lap, which was a lot faster than my out lap. So every time you do this comparison, it goes against your fastest lap. And as you've seen, it doesn't even matter whether or not it's a valid lap or not. It just takes the fastest lap. So enjoy this application, and I'm sure if you start using it more often, you will absolutely find that you gain more and more time and hopefully avoid crashing into a wall like this. Congratulations, you made it to the third and final sector, which I call a review. And reviewing your data is critically important because it shows you where you could gain even more time once you've tried to set your fastest lap time while being in the cockpit. And I've mentioned it before, but I drive on the Shark server quite a lot, and I use the timing mechanism that we have on the server, which is the P tracker or S tracker software that I mentioned before, and it creates this timing page. And this timing page is critically important in understanding where I can gain even more time. So what you can see here is, of course, the fastest drivers here all the way on top, and you can see their lap times, you can see their sector times, and you can see what aids they're using if they have the P-Tracker client installed. If not, it's all grayed out and you're just missing out on a little bit of information. But that's actually not the information why I come here. The real information why I come here is because I can compare my lap over here, number 5, with that of Lewis Hamilton or Dan 57 or all of them in fact. So let's go in and click on my name and I'll see more data about the lap that I set. I can see my name, the fact that I'm a human driver, which is quite good to know. I can see my lap time. I can see some of the session information about track temperatures, ambient temperatures, any aids that I used, for example. But the most important thing that I can see here is this comparison chart where I can be compared in the blue line against the lap time that Dan 57 in this example did. Or I can click on the server best and compare it as well, for example, to Lewis Hamilton, who you will see now in the red, and Dan 57 in the orange. So you can see these 3 lines, and let me just compare it to the server best because he's the fastest guy out there at the moment. And what you can see when you compare my track in blue to that of Lewis Hamilton in red is that at the end of the first straight, I'm already starting to lose some speed compared to Lewis. Lewis continues moving upwards, continues building up speed, where I'm already starting to trail down. I don't know what I did exactly. Maybe I closed my DRS or I stopped using the energy recovery system. But in any case, I'm losing speed and I'm losing time as a result of it. Now we brake at pretty much the same point, but what I do is continue braking for the second turn of the chicane, and clearly Lewis isn't doing that, so I can adjust my driving style because I now know that it's possible to continue increasing speed throughout that second turn. When we go to the next chicane over here, I can see, I'm not losing too much time, but I'm still losing time anyway. And especially in the acceleration, I don't make it up to the same speed as Lewis is. And again, even in braking, I'm going slower than he is. The next corner is pretty much even, but then when we start going through the S's, that's where I start losing a lot of time and a lot of speed. And clearly, I need to get my lines sorted out there because that's really where I lose the bulk of time. I even do it as we enter the stadium over here. And, I actually go a little bit faster as we start preparing to go up into the final straight. So that may be the only point where I'm gaining time compared to Lewis for now. So, this information is really vitally critical for me to compare it against drivers. And if we add Dan 57 again here, you'll see that those two drivers are not too far apart from each other, but yet still they have some quite different lines over here. For example, the orange line being at top here, and at the top here, and at the top here. So something that I can learn from all of these drivers. And the way that it works to select your manual compare is you go to the lap times, you click on the driver that you want to compare it to. In this case, I'll click on Darkblade and I'll say manual compare, please. And in this case, I can now go back to my own session time and I can compare my lap to that of Darkblade. And I can see that, I'm losing less time, obviously, compared to Darkblade, but he's going even faster on the main straight over here. So maybe he's got a different wing setting or he's using much more energy. In any case, he's got a much higher top speed than I have. So something I could look into for my setup as well. So the very last tool I'll mention is a telemetry logger that I use called Untitled Racing Data. It's a piece of software that you install on your system and it runs in a system tray. And while it does that, it monitors your sim racing software, in this case Assetto Corsa, for any telemetry that you create while driving around the track. So once it's received the telemetry, it uploads it into their website and you can compare your telemetry and view the telemetry from your stints. So in this case, I'll have a quick look at my last stint and see what telemetry it took from there. So while it's loading, you can see that there is various information being stored here. For example, on the throttle, the brake, the gear, the speed, the RPMs, and everything else that you can think of. And even while we go through the entire lap, you can see the steering wheel change as well and see the steering wheel input that we have over here at every given angle. So lots of information that you can use to compare, for example, your previous fastest lap to your newest fastest lap and see where you changed and how you improved upon your lap time. And then try and repeat it over and over again so you lock it into your system and you can repeat it at will for a very fast lap during a race, for example. So with that, I would like to thank you very much for watching through to the end of this video. It was a bit longer than normal, but I hope these tips help you immensely in creating faster lap times and enjoying your sim racing even more. Have fun out there, and I hope to see you soon on the Shark server. Bye bye.